What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're talking about these 16 hand cannons that we just went through a nice little tournament. So if you guys haven't watched that, I'm going to link the video up in the eye right now. That's the first round on the hand cannon. We had some crazy games, everything from 120s to 180s to exotics. It was nutty. So I'm going to be doing a little tier list here for you today, going over these 16 hand cannons and placing them from S to D tier. Alright, so first off, we have the good old Ace of Spades. Classic. D1 weapon, great in D2. Got changed from a 150 to a 140. Came in on our list at 12 out of 16. I feel like this gun had some great potential. I wasn't using it to its full potential because I wasn't using Momentum Moray enough. So I'm going to put it at the B tier because it's not a terrible gun, but it is not top tier in my opinion, unless you are using that Momentum Moray correctly every single time. And it does get to be kind of a hassle, but she still slaps pretty hard. So we're starting it off with the B tier. Next, we got Cremiel's Dagger, a 120. Now this thing hits like a truck, and I think if my roll had Rampage on it, or something like that where I could get that extra stat boost instead of Outlaw Zen Moment, which doesn't really, to me, Outlaw doesn't really affect hand cannons that much. You don't really need it. It's nice for those 120s that have slow load times. But in the end, I would rather have something else there, like Rampage or Killing Wind or something that gives it a little extra oomph. But it still slaps really hard, and for the perks that it has, even with the roll I have, I'm going to put it in A tier just because 120s run supreme right now. I know some of these guns had better games, and even a 180 won our tournament, but they are all viable in different situations in my opinion. So, like this Crimson is next for our third gun. This Crimson came in at second place on our list. Now, not to knock it, but it is definitely a better 6s gun than even for 3s. So, anything where you can just gun down people and get that health regen and reload automatically, you can just run through an entire 6 stack if you're hitting your headshots with it, especially if you have a charged with light build going on. And on controller, it's better than PC, obviously, but this is for console, so we're going to keep it right there. I don't know. I think it's not an S tier. I'm going to put it at A because of its perks. And it's not super viable in 3s. Yes, it's still really good, but a nice 120 if you're hitting your shots from a good distance will beat that every single time, in my opinion. Alright, moving on to the Dire Promise. Now, this boy used to run supreme in Crucible. Definitely has taken a fall off its ladder, that's for sure. I didn't play real well with it. I don't think it ran. I just didn't like its bounce, its recoil, not much about it. It's like flash of the barrel even. It felt weird to me. So I'm putting this down in our first D tier because, not just because of the score it got 38 points, which very low for this tournament, but I just its feeling, me personally, did not feel right to me. Alright, moving on to the Hawkman. Now this gun's pretty fickle for me because I didn't have, well, the random roll quest wasn't out yet when I did this tournament, so I still have the transformative perk when I ran through it, and it didn't feel that great during the tournament. But playing with it since that random rolls came out, I won't lie, when you got a nice roll on it, it doesn't feel too shabby at all. So I think I'm gonna put it in the B tier with Ace of Spades. I wish I could put it like halfway in between. It's like halfway in between these two, if I had to say. Because with the right perks, it would go up to A. Definitely not an S tier weapon, in my opinion. We're going to keep it at B. Alright, so next we have the last word. Good old crazy exotic, especially if you're using a controller and on console. Definitely putting it up in the A tier because It definitely takes some skill to get the bounce down, but once you get those headshots and the quickness, it doesn't have the greatest range, but she still slaps really hard, especially if you pair it with the sniper. You got that distance, and you can just almost like bully and walk into people like a ape, like a titan with it, and just rail them. So definitely the way to go in my opinion. All right, moving on. Nation of Beasts. Let's see. This is nice. This was a pretty average hand cannon. The rampage roll, I'm telling you, definitely the way to go. But I'm gonna put it in the C tier because I just don't think it competes with the other like exotic 140s, especially. It was very good, don't get me wrong. It finished at 5th on our list, but it's one of those where like in 3s, I would never use this in trials or comp even. I think it's definitely like a 6's weapon again with that rampage. You can just get some nice chains going on once that rampage is procced, especially with charge with light. I could 2-tap people if I had rampage and a charge with light procced, so that's what I'm saying. To me, it feels like it feels a little less crispy than like the Ace of Spades or Hawk Moon. So I'm throwing it in the C tier, even though it did very well in our tournament. Next, we have the Champion of Champions dropped to 64 in our tournament. The Nature of the Beast. A 180. Quick little boy. Shoots fast, doesn't have much recoil, feels really good. To me, even though she won our tournament, I'm putting her in the B tier because, one, it's a 180. Not many 180s, especially without Rampage and Killing Wind or like something to give it that little extra damage boost, is not too viable. I just had some really good runs in 6s with it and chained some kills together, especially since it has Dragonfly. It was like a mini Cloud Strike for me, so I really enjoyed that. Moving on to our not forgotten, nice old Sunset weapon. Now, it is Sunset, so it obviously isn't going to work well in Iron Banner or Trials, but for 6s, this thing still slaps really hard. She still feels really great. It's not an S tier or A tier even at this point because of it being Sunset and with all the nerfs and changes it used to be, especially compared to the good old original Not Forgotten from back in the day. So we're going to put it back in the B tier again because it just doesn't hold up to these A tier guns in my personal opinion. Posterity, the new raid weapon. Now, if I had Killing Wind on this thing, it would be even better, but I had Reconstruction Rampage, and not having to reload with 27 bullets in Rampage was crazy sometimes. I could really chain those kills together in 6s. Like I said before, 180s are great for that, but even this gun, in my personal opinion, felt better than even our winner, the Nature of Beasts. So, I'm gonna throw it in the A tier, because with that Rampage proc, it has decent range, and you can get some crazy kills with it. She felt really good and really crisp, especially like I said, pairing it with a sniper so you can get some range to back you up. It's golden. It's golden. Maybe not the best thing for 3s, but if you're putting out lots of damage and are super quick and like to jump up in the air, 180s come intrinsically with Icarus, so it's a perfect gun for just putting someone down to like low health and jumping around a corner and popping them once for like 64 in the head. So it's a great gun. It's a great gun. I'm throwing it at A tier because I love it. Now we got our good old steady hand. Started out the competition real hot in the first round with a 62. Didn't think it was going to get caught, but finally got dethroned in the end. This weapon right here is my bread and butter. I'm going to throw it up in the S tier now before we even get talking about it, because it is golden. It has Swashbuckler and Killing Wind. When you get that thing procced, you're 2-tapping people left and right. Very good range, very good stability for a 120. It's almost like a scout rifle sometimes. Very viable, especially when you pair it with like a shotgun, or if you're a good sniper, that even works too. This is all around good gun for 3s, 6s, anything you want. It'll take your spot. You just got to hit those shots. So it's a little unforgiving if you miss like one shot with it, because a 140 will put you down. But at that point, if you can 2-tap them, you're hitting for like 103, 98 in the head with just one swash going on. And if you put Charge with Light in there, you're hitting for like 220 or 125. Easy. So very easy gun to chain kills together, and just, it's beautiful. My favorite gun of the tournament, I believe. I loved it a lot. Moving on to the Sturm. Very average gun. I think with the Catalyst, with its unlimited range, it's actually nutty. She hits really hard from really far, but she doesn't have the extra damage boost like Swashbuckler or Rampage unless you're using Drang with it. So, my opinion, I'm going to put it in the A. With Drang, it's in the S tier because you get that Sturm overcharge and ×3, so if you get a couple kills, you're hitting for 162 in the head and like 88 in the body. It's actually nuts when you have the Sturm charged up. So I'm gonna put it at A, but just know it should be right in the middle, right about there. So very good, especially if you use that Drang with it. Gnarly. Only 4 guns left. Poor old Sunshot. Not a bad gun, the only 150 on our list. Me personally, I did not like it too much. I'm gonna put it at the C because it still has some nice fun little games to it, especially with that dragonfly effect when you get the headshot. It's kind of like Ace of Spades, but I just think that the muzzle, like the entire gun is too big, and when you shoot it, it's just got some crazy screen animations or something, and it doesn't feel right to me. In my personal opinion, it just feels off when you're shooting it. It might be because it's a 150, and I was so used to playing with the 140s, like the timing is just slightly off in the shots, so that's kind of, maybe you got to practice a little bit more with it, but me personally, I'm going to put it at the C tier because it's not that great of a gun. Lots of these are way better. Even the 180 at B tier is way better in my personal opinion. All right, moving on to the Thorn. To me, this is going to be another banger. I love this gun, especially when you get Soul Devourer kicked in. I think its recoil feels really great to me. That little extra burn at the end feels amazing, and like I said, if you can hit your shots, it's very, very good. It feels like it shoots just even slightly faster. Like I'm saying, it's a recoil thing or an animation thing with some of these guns more than anything, but I'm gonna put it at S tier because I really, really love this gun, and if you can get that Soul Devourer to proc, you are slapping kids around the map. Great 140, great 140. Does work in all game modes, in my personal opinion. True Prophecy, another 120, another banger of a gun. I think, again, this is going to be an S tier. I didn't plan this, I just did this in alphabetical order, but this gun also, for a 120, slaps super hard. It feels so steady for me, and that explosive payload that I have on just does some crazy damage. You can hit someone in the ankle around a corner and get that final finishing kill when he's half health, just crouching, waiting to throw his shatter grenade down or something like that, or freeze you with his stupid rift. But I think it's a great gun for that. Once you get that charge with light, it hits super hard. You can tap people left and right. I love it. I know Lewis, my buddy, also has a really good roll, and he loves his more than his steady hand. But I'm still putting it at S tier because I think it's a great gun. It came in 11th in our tournament, but those numbers don't matter really to me. It's just there's so many different variables that went into the tournament. Sixes, lobbies, mercies. Am I going against a 6-stack? Everything like that. But great gun. Great gun. I'm throwing the True Prophecy up here. If you have one, make sure you keep it going. And it is a great, great gun. All right. Last gun of the tournament. Our Lonely Old Trust. Now, it's a fun gun. It's a fun gun. Great 180. Explosive payload. It is sunset. But you never know with Bungie. They might bring some shiz back in the future because it's Bungie. So you never know. Or we might get something similar to it from Gambit in the future as well. Another 180, a solar hand cannon, something like that. My personal opinion, it's a D tier as well. It feels all right. Again, it's a 180. You can't really compete with the ranges. It has like the same almost, I guess it might be the shape of the gun because Dire Promise is close, but it's something about the recoil and the animation pattern that just really, like, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't feel right in my personal opinion. So, I don't know. It's not for me. But that's our tier list. I think that's where you're sitting for console. This is the guns that you should be using. This Hawkmoon, if you got a really good roll, you might be able to put it in the A and S tier, but for now I think it's a B, especially for me. What else could you maybe move around? Crimson, maybe S tier if you're really good with it. Like I said, Sturm, if you're using Drang, move it up there because you can get some crazy shots with it. This one you might even be able to move down because it doesn't have like the range capacity of some of these, but it was a really fun gun to use in my opinion, so I think it sits at B for me because I loved it. But that's the tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and those are my final thoughts on the tournament. I hope you guys have a fun next week at the beginning of the season. Thank you guys for coming back and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Let me know down below what you guys think of the list and what you guys' top hand cannon of the season was. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.